Hello and welcome to my second talk today, Wuff, building Eclipse applications and plugins with Gradle. My name is Andrei Chiklovsky. I'm software engineer from Germany. At my main job, I work for a small software company called StarText GmbH, based in Bonn. We develop software for archives and museums in Germany. Here I perform as a contributor to open source community and as an author of Gradle plugins. One of these Gradle plugins I'm representing today to you. You can anytime interrupt me, ask questions, and otherwise contribute to our happy event here. So what is Wuff? First of all, Wuff is not a single Gradle plugin, it's a set of Gradle plugins. Second, the purpose of Wuff is to allow you to run, debug, and build Eclipse plugins and applications independently of IDE. We are all used to the idea that for developing Eclipse applications, we need full-fledged Eclipse environment. Actually, it's not true. You can develop Eclipse applications in any other IDE or with your Vim editor, if you like. So then, next important thing that makes Wuff distinct, Wuff supports multiple Eclipse versions. You can switch between Eclipse versions with a single parameter that gives you a nice path for upgrading your projects. And then, of course, Wuff provides its own configuration DSL by which you can configure anything. I will show more information on that later. We will structure our time the following way. First, I tell you history, how Wuff was created, from what was the background. Then, again, we make an overview of features, and at last we learn some properties, some configuration parameters, and typical use cases, how you can use Wuff. So the history. I started working with Eclipse in year 2009. Before that, I was C++ guy. I worked a lot with C++. So what happened in year 2009, I was given some Eclipse RCP applications, which were not automated, that nobody knew from where libraries come. And when I asked, for example, what to do with these red error messages in Eclipse, people would usually wave hand and say, just ignore it. It runs somehow, we don't know. That was a recommendation. So I was assigned a task of maintaining these Eclipse applications. So I thought it should be automated. We should actually clean this mess up and do things orderly. So in year 2011, I migrated our Eclipse plugins and applications to Eclipse Tyho. At the beginning, I got this feeling, wow, this is a powerful thing. It's a leverage. You can do a lot with this. But then I felt I'm really doing heavy lifting with configuration. It's too many things to configure. First. Second, it's painful. It's really painful. You break one parameter somewhere, and Eclipse Tyho will spit on you 1,000 error messages and you will be without any clue what is going on. So that was my personal impression of how it was. So that brought me to the idea the world needs something else. Not this picture, but this picture. Something handsome, something that you can trust, and something that not makes you freaked out. So I started development of Wuff last year. And my first goal was to automate my own Eclipse projects. Then I open sourced Wuff. I gave it to to the public. And as with other open source projects, there were ideas coming from people, and the thing started to accumulate like a snowball. Now, 1 year later, what we have, Wuff came through 8 releases, actually 9. One release I've done this morning. So there are 7 contributors. I am one of them. I'm author and one of the contributors. Then some features are still in beta. What I mean by that, the features were developed, but not really tested by anybody else. So I will tell later what is untested, and will kindly ask you, please come to GitHub and see if you can make it useful, these features. If not, then please report, and we will fix everything together. Then there are some great ideas floating in the air, how Wuff can be improved, how we can further simplify Eclipse plugin and application development. More about it at the end of the presentation. And I have an idea that probably this summer we will have version 1.0 of Wuff. Current version is 0.0.15. That means it's kind of immature product yet, but probably we'll get to version 1.0. So let's get a bit into detail. This is the list of Gradle plugins that are part of Wuff. I try to order them in complexity order. So the plugins at the top are simple, and they do one narrow thing. Plugins at the end are more complex, like Eclipse IDE application, EFX Eclipse application. So I will tell you briefly what they do. OSG bundle simply provides your project with an auto-generated OSGI bundle, manifest. Eclipse bundle is similar to OSGI bundle. And additionally, it can generate plugin XML for you. And also, it can inject Eclipse runtime bundles. Then Eclipse Equinox App plugin. It generates non-visual, minimalistic application that will allow you to run Eclipse bundles. Tell me who of you knows exactly what Equinox means in the text of Eclipse. Wonderful. I will explain. Equinox is actually part of Eclipse, and it is so-called reference implementation of OSGI concept. So whenever we say that Eclipse is OSGI framework or OSGI based, that means somewhere inside there is a Equinox runtime coordinating bundles one to another, providing means to start and stop bundles, all this stuff. So minimalistic Equinox application does not have to be visual. It can be, for example, server-side application. It's up to you how you do it. Eclipse RCP, I think most of us know what does it mean. It's visual application with views, perspectives, visual elements, but it does not have any default GUI. GUI you create yourself. You must define everything, all classes. Then Eclipse IDE is something more than RCP. Eclipse IDE means there is already environment configured for you. What you do, you add your own views and perspectives to it. Then EFX Eclipse is a new thing. EFX Eclipse, to my limited knowledge, is a new part of Eclipse world. It's a mixture of Eclipse framework and JavaFX libraries. So it's EFX Eclipse gives you an opportunity to run JavaFX code or forms within Eclipse. I must be honest, this is contribution to Wuff by other people. I did not thoroughly test it. You are welcome to come and test it yourself. Then Eclipse feature and Eclipse repository. These are beta functions I was talking about. They are not thoroughly tested. They are working for me, will probably work for you. You can generate Eclipse features and Eclipse repositories with Wuff. Now let's learn what are Gradle tasks provided by Wuff. There are very, very few tasks. Actually, these 4, not more. The first task is scaffold. It generates code for certain project types. It's simply that you need this boilerplate to start with certain project types. Scaffold does exactly that. Then there is a run task. Run starts your application on Equinox runtime without creating a distribution package. The start happens in place. That means the class path of your project is used for configuring Equinox runtime and to starting the whole thing up. Debug is clear. It's the same as run. Simply, your application can connect to debugger. And the last one is interesting. It's Gradle build. And it's augmented by Wuff. It's not building only the jar file of your current project. It's building the complete product. And product can be configureless or configured by you. More about it later. Let's start with something simple. We want to build Eclipse bundle with Wuff. For that, we need to add this instruction, Eclipse bundle, and run Gradle build. That's it. As an effects, OSGI manifest is created for us. Plugin XML is created for us. Then require bundle instructions from manifest are converted to Gradle dependencies. And finally, bundle jar is created. So then, back. Equinox application. A little bit more work. You add, of course, this Gradle plugin. Yes?
Just go back on the previous.
Back.
Did you handle the imports? Did you have required
Imports. I think you can put imports into your own OSGI manifest file, and it will be merged with the one generated by Wuff. Actually, I must confess, I'm getting slowly to the idea that probably we should not create or merge manifest or plugin XML files. There were many complaints that people get unexpected results from it. Like, I already have my manifest and plugin XML. Why they should be augmented by Wuff? At the end of the presentation, we will discuss perspectives, and I will tell more about it. So, Equinox application. Almost the same thing. We include Gradle plugin. And then a little bit more work. We need to define application class and to define so-called extension point that registers this application class with the Equinox runtime. That's it. We are ready. We can run Gradle run. As an effect, Equinox configuration is created for us, and this Equinox class is started. Actually, Wuff sources contain examples of all these little things. You can go and compile yourself. And our Equinox application is already ready for creating a product. We build product with the Gradle build command, and we immediately get self-contained Equinox application in this special folder, build output. It's configureless mode. You might ask how it finds the necessary libraries. For example, there could be libraries depending on the operating system. So my idea to that was, let's use reasonable defaults. For example, if we are running on Linux, we would be expecting that runtime is Linux specific. If we are running on Mac OS X, then Let's choose Mac OS 6 runtime, and so on. How Equinox product layout looks like. I think you know already this picture, how Eclipse applications look like. It's all the same: configuration folder, plugins folder, and then native launcher. You should expect a very similar picture from the menu functions for product generation that are part of Eclipse itself. So Wuff does the same, but from the command line for you. And you can you can configure your own products. For example, you can create products for other platforms or architectures. Here I demonstrate how we can configure 2 products for Linux, 2 for Windows, 1 for Mac OS 6. Yes?
Does it handle the new OS 6 package layout that they introduced in M7 for Mars?
I think not, no. We did not experiment with Mars yet, no. But yeah, thanks for an idea, for the hint. I must have a look at this. Archive product Boolean parameter means the following. You want to pack your generated products as zip files for Windows and as tar GZ for every other platform. As simple as that. Now let's do something visual, RCP application. Here, the process is very routine. You include Gradle plugin, then you define your application's perspective views, or you can use scaffold task so that Wuff creates some minimal skeleton for you. After that, you can run, debug, or build a product from that. This is how this scaffolded skeleton looks like. Hello, world. Then here, very briefly, we will compare how RCP applications look like against Equinox applications. How much work Wuff does for you, how much work is on your side in both cases. As we see, both for Equinox applications and for RCP, Wuff provides us with Equinox runtime. Wuff allows us to generate products for both. And what we do on our side, we must create application class. On Equinox part here, it's end of story. Anything else that you create is already not part of infrastructure. It's part of your application logic. And here it's a bit more plumbing. Wuff adds additionally RCP plugins to your project. You define your views and perspectives. You can add intro pages and splash screens. All this will be automatically recognized by Wuff and magically shown up in the RCP application. The next Gradle plugin that belongs to Wuff is IDE App. Here it's interesting. You don't have even to define your own views or perspectives to start with. You need only build Gradle with this single instruction. And that's it. It's already ready to be started. You enter Gradle run at the command line, and something like that starts. So it's prefabricated for you. Yes?
Based off of what Eclipse distribution?
Actually, by default, it will be based on Eclipse Luna 4.4.2, Service Pack 2. I think as soon as Mars will be available, I will change the default to Mars. But you can switch anytime to any other version.
And that would be the version, but then which pre-pack, you know how they have the standard one with Java?
Uh-huh.
Which one are you bringing down?
You mean which concrete bundles?
So you bring,
I'd rather show it in the next slides, how it's configured, other Eclipse versions. Let's compare quickly RCP applications against versus IDE applications. Again, how much work is on Wuff side and how much work on your side. Same thing, Wuff provides you with Equinox runtime, generates products for you. For IDE, you don't have to write your application class because IDE already provides the one. Then Wuff adds RCP plugins for both cases. You define views and perspectives for both cases. Again, same, intro, splash. And additionally, Wuff adds here IDE-specific plugins. And then comes this part, puzzle of OSGI dependencies. Well, this is something that actually kind of heart of Wuff, what it is all about. It's all about OSGI and dependencies. It's simple on the surface, not so simple in implementation. And there are many, many questions how to deal with OSGI properly. First of all, OSGI is a model which has its own concept of dependencies between modules. But this is completely unrelated to Maven. So how you deal with this duplication? You have Maven dependencies, you have OSGI dependencies. How to make them work in harmony? There's no obvious answer. Then another problem, OSGI does not have concept of transitive dependencies. So how to deal with that? If we have, say, n Eclipse bundles, and each have n dependencies, will it be n squared for the complexity of the whole thing? Then how do we include non-OSGI libraries? That was very unpleasant discovery for me when I started to work with Eclipse. OK, I created my wonderful Eclipse application. How do I use their non-OSGI libraries? There are thousands on the internet, and I simply want to use them. The only answer that OSGI gives us, you have to wrap them as OSGI bundles. Do we have to do it manually by hand? How much effort? Or do we have to write unscripts or anything? And
No,
yeah.
you don't have to wrap, but you just have to, most jars just have to have their manifest updated with the proper source.
They have to, but you know, it's always a gap between ideal world and the real world. Many libraries don't have OSGI manifests. And finally, from where do we get this OSGI dependencies? OK, we are lucky if some bundles are already part of our Eclipse installation. What if not? How do we maintain this? Are there repositories? OK, there are P2 repositories which can contain Eclipse bundles. But how we can use P2 repositories in a command line automated world? So many questions. Why I formulated all these problems? I wanted to show you a glimpse of how Wuff deals with this. A current approach is we mavenize Eclipse. Mavenize means we take everything from the official sources, we unpack Eclipse bundles, then we read each and every manifest, calculate dependencies, and then we republish everything into a local Maven cache. This way, it kind of works. You can have your Eclipse bundles as Maven dependencies. Then some problems are solved, like OSGI dependencies become Maven dependencies. And you get transitive dependencies and so on. But maybe it's not ideal solution. So From this Eclipse mavenization, there probably would be better solutions like direct P2 repository support. I have an idea that next version of Wuff, the promised version 1.0, should support access to P2 repositories. There are official P2 repositories from Eclipse, or you might create your own P2 repositories within the corporate network. And it would be nice just to pull what is there and to use these bundles as Gradle dependencies. So please hold on the line, keep your attention. It will come in the version 1.0.
Are you planning to use the Ether library?
Which?
Ether.
You.
That's the one that actually does the repository stuff.
Yeah, part of Maven, I guess, right?
Well, it was, but it's actually now an Eclipse.
No need for this. I think it's actually not that complicated to crack P2 repositories. All you have to do is to download two files, artifacts XML, content XML, parse them, calculate what are artifacts, what are their dependencies. All information is provided there. And then actually download. The only problem that it should be fast. These artifacts XML and content XML, they can be huge.
They also can be federated. So you can have component repositories. So that's why
Exactly.
the Ether library was built, so that everyone would have a single place.
Right. There are composite repositories. That's also another layer of complexity. But be assured these problems are solvable without either library. It can be solved in kind of direct approach. Now, let's get to sweet part. This is switching Eclipse versions. With Wuff, it's simple. It's one property called selected Eclipse version. Here we have default value, which is 442. And out of the box, we support different Eclipse versions. All are listed here. So what actually happens when we invoke Gradle build and when we have this selected Eclipse version? Would it be default or defined by us? Wuff goes to official sources, finds corresponding version of Eclipse, downloads this huge zip file, unpacks it, mavenizes, and then you have Eclipse bundles as Maven dependencies. All this happens once, and then things are reloaded from local Maven cache.
Which Eclipse are you thinking? The standard one, the Java one?
I think it's JEE one.
Is it possible to publish this to a remote repository, this step? So you have not a local Maven. So you have
Download from another one, right?
But you're on your own, right?
Yes, exactly. And this is our next slide. You can you can define your own Eclipse versions with the following syntax. Inside of Wuff section, you define Eclipse version and give it identifier. Identifier can be anything. It's up to you. It can be version number or a specific word that makes sense for you. Then you have to specify this Eclipse Maven group. Eclipse Maven group describes under which group it will be installed under local Maven cache. And under sources, we can describe one or more sources from where zip files or target files are coming. This could be official Eclipse sources or your own distributions that are available on the network. Or this can be even file paths. And once defined, custom Eclipse version is immediately available for referencing in the configuration. I would advise doing such things in the root project if we have multi-project environment for obvious reasons. It will be not good to have chaos of Eclipse versions between different projects. Let them all keep on the same Eclipse version. Then another interesting feature is installing language packs. I don't know how language packs are critical here in the US, probably not so much as in Europe. In Europe, I think we have to work with language packs. Well, if I'm developing Eclipse applications in Germany, our clients naturally expect that applications will be speaking in German language. So there are Eclipse packages for this, so-called language packs, or more concretely, they're called Babel language packs. They are somewhere on the internet in the form of zip files, and Wuff provides access to these language packs with this simple syntax. These are languages supported out of the box. It's possible to add other languages as well, but it's probably not subject for this presentation. Once we defined that we use some language packs, we can apply them to products. This is parameter language, which is by default English, and it can be one of those language packs that we defined before. Here we define 3 products. One will be English speaking, 2 other will be German and French. So now this subject of wrapping non-OSGI libraries. Here I will describe how Wuff solves this problem. I tried my best to do this process as transparent as possible. There should be no manual work for wrapping non-OSGI libraries. All you have to do is to add your non-OSGI library to compile configuration, and on the next build or run, Wuff will automatically create corresponding manifest for this library, and will create a bundle with auto-generated name, which will contain only this library. The bundle will be added to product if you generate the product naturally. Alternative to this approach would be not to create a wrapping bundle, but to include non-OSGI library directly to our Eclipse bundles. Typical use case for this will be the following. We don't want this library to be exposed to all other Eclipse bundles. Or we have different version of the same library used by different Eclipse bundles. Such things happen. Then we have to do something like private library. Wuff provides you with a configuration private lib where you can add your non-OSGI libraries. As an effect, the library will be added to the manifest of the host project, and it will be included in the bundle of the host project. And this very new, still untested functions of Wuff, generating features and repositories. Yeah, very briefly about this. You can generate Eclipse features with Wuff by using special plugin, Eclipse feature, and by listing your bundles that belong to the feature with a special configuration called feature. As a result, whenever we run Gradle build, these 2 files are generated for us, and they are packed to the feature jar. End of story. Same thing with P2 repositories. There is a special configuration provided to you by Wuff called repository. And here you have to add features, not bundles, but features. And then Wuff generates artifacts XML, content XML, and features and plugins for you. And it can even pack everything into the zip file. Yes?
You might that's a pretty generic
Good point, good point. I think, yeah, you are right. It can create conflict. I think,
More complex
yeah.
projects.
You are right. Yeah, you mean prefixing it like Wuff repository or P2 repository? Yeah. Yeah. Good suggestion. Thank you. And now we come to, we are nearing the end of our presentation. Here, a little bit of observation. What will be in version 1.0? First of all, there were dozens of requests on the internet. People ask, how do we serve OSGI bundles directly from P2 repositories? It's only when I implemented this Eclipse mavenization, then I realized it could be done differently. It could be done without this mavenization phase. Then there is a certain need for more control over manifest and plugin XML. Not all of us are happy with the fact that Wuff generates or augments manifests and plugins XML. Especially this is important for legacy projects. We have already a lot of Eclipse bundles. They are compilable under Ant or Eclipse or whatever. We just don't want to touch sources. We want to compile them with the Gradle. In this case, it should be done the following way. By default, Wuff should not augment anything of this. And then only when you need this feature should be activatable or possible to activate. And there is a perspective somewhere there on the horizon of integrating with IDE. Here, I will be looking carefully with interest what Gradle is doing with BuildShip. As soon as BuildShip is available and as soon as it is mainstream, I think I will have to learn what it is doing, and maybe consider how Wuff can integrate with BuildShip, how two things can work together to produce better results. I don't have clear idea about this until BuildShip is really there. And of course, if any one of you later comes with nice ideas how Wuff can be better integrated into IDEs, I would be absolutely happy to hear from you. So here's information where you can get Wuff. The project is at the GitHub. There is documentation in form of wiki pages. And of course, all versions of Wuff are at Gradle plugin portal, JCenter, Maven Central. So I'll repeat my not so simple name, Andrei Chichlovsky. My handle at GitHub, my email, my Twitter handle, all is here. Please contact me, ask questions, come to GitHub with pull requests, with issues, with everything. We will discuss and improve Wuff furthermore. Questions?
Does Wuff support the following scenario? I want to bring down an Eclipse, so that you already have that. You have the Eclipse app. Then I want to go off to somebody else's update site, bring down a plugin and install it in there. What I would do with P2 directly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you support that today?
I don't see that it would be possible with this mavenization schema. It's simply too inflexible for it. But I'm sure it will be that easy with direct P2 repository support. Questions?
Where'd you get the name from?
Okay. Here we come to this to this slide. Yeah. So this slide. So really, I was at a loss finding good name. The name should reflect it's something handsome and not so scary as some other tools. I don't know. I just like this name.
So you have it on?
No, no, no.
Definitely get one.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe the clip.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Questions, my friends? Yeah.
It's possible to build plugins, IDE plugins, and on top of this.
You mean Eclipse plugins?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course, of course. It's the purpose of this thing. We are building Eclipse plugins.
Can I publish this to a maven repository so that I can download this later?
You mean Eclipse plugins?
Yes.
Yes, and even it does not require any efforts. Whatever we generate with Gradle is already ready for publication with Maven plugin, for example. So
Okay.
no effort needed on this. Further questions? Yes?
Any support for so-called binary artifacts, I mean the configuration ones. So in the P2 repo you could have features, plugins, and the special ones which are
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yes, yes. Like platform-specific fragments. No, not yet, not yet. It was just simply out of my scope for initial implementation. But if you come up with more detailed description of what you want, then it would be just wonderful. Questions?
What
Yes.
would you suggest if you're adopting an old 3.6 Eclipse RCP app build
Mhm.
with all generated AMP files and you're going to try to migrate to Wuff? Would you just start off immediately going to 3.7 and see if it works? Or
I would rather recommend not to change Eclipse version. You can stay with the same, but you can define your own Eclipse configuration with the syntax that I've shown in the presentation. That would be the easiest way, I think,
I'm
to
actually
do.
in the same boat, and that's
Oh.
now what I have to go do is
Yeah.
write my own
Right.
version number for that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Questions? Okay. Thank you so much, my colleagues. Thank you for your time.